Right, this video is going to be all about deload week. Like, what is it? Basically the ins and outs of deload. The reason why I'm doing this is because I actually had a rest week this past week. As some of you may have seen my video on YouTube all about I say all about, like, it was very revolved around me. I just want to give you guys some more information about deload and stuff. So first things first, what is a deload week? It kind of is self-explanatory. The answers in the word. Deload, you are deloading, so it is a way of fatigue management. It is a short planned period of recovery as well. It's usually reducing your intensity and or volume of a workout, and it typically lasts about a week, a few days to a week. It is different from a rest week, however. Literally a rest week is what I did last week, where you fully do not train. I did cardio, but I did no weights, no lifting whatsoever, okay? I find a lot of people do have the perception that when it comes to training and weightlifting that you have to keep going and pushing further, but really this is not the case. Sometimes the more you do, the worse it can be. It's very important to take that rest, because during the period of rest and recovery, that's really where the adaptations occur and you do see like the difference basically. So why incorporate a deload? So when you are training, you are literally putting physical stress on the body. So as I just said, when you are training, those times of recovery is when your physical adaptations are gonna occur. So like if you've been training hard for weeks and months, for example, you aren't giving your body that time to really like process and then adapt, and then you will eventually reach a point where you're not going to continue seeing changes, or what we call is plateauing. So you're literally like staying on that level and your body isn't progressing. Also, I just want to say that you will not lose muscle by deloading. A lot of people have the perception of, oh my god, I'm not gonna train weights for a period of time, I'm gonna lose muscle, why am I gonna bother deloading? If you're not training, it takes literally 2 to 4 weeks before your body starts losing muscle and then using that for energy and stuff. So you may lose slight strength if you're not training within a week, but you're not going to lose muscle. So rest assured, this will not happen. I want to talk a bit about something called supercompensation. This is kind of a subject within itself, but it is also important to realize it within deload week and why you take deload weeks. So when you think about it, when you are putting this physical stress on the body, your body adapts to it, which is where we get the term plateau and not improving and really staying quite stagnant. Supercompensation is that period when you are recovering, your body's adapting. So you're actually like set your base fitness level, you are actually setting it. You push your body, you're going to recover, and then your body's going to adapt, so then your actual fitness level increases, and then this is like your new baseline. So that's kind of where the term supercompensation comes in, providing you give that time for your body to recover. So you're not going to supercompensate if you keep pushing and pushing and pushing. If you are training, this kind of goes into the next point, but if you are training hard enough, you should want a deload. You should want to have that time where you recover and take that time out for your body to like process and recover and set that new fitness level. It's just where it adapts to new stress and physical stress on the body. And then in the long term, you are obviously going to have improved strength, improved power, and improved fitness levels. We also deload because you want to alleviate the CNS fatigue. CNS stands for the central nervous system. So think about that as your brain and spinal cord, which fires the motor neurons to your body to basically like move. So when we like train hard and when progressive overload is like being placed on the body, the rate at which your motor neurons are fired within the body is kind of reduced. Your body can't keep up with it. So you need to take, again, that time out to deload, rest for your CNS to recover. And then other reasons you need to deload is just to prevent general injury. You do tend to lose a bit of motivation when you train too hard as well. So these are kind of like signs and symptoms. So I am actually going to go into the next point, which is when to deload. With this, there honestly isn't a one size fits all approach. Every single person is different, and it also is variable to how long you've been lifting, how experienced of a trainer you are, and also how durable your ligaments and your tendons are. So everyone is different with this. There are general signs that you are overtraining, and there are also general signs and symptoms of when your CNS, which is your central nervous system, is kind of being affected as well. So some of these symptoms include prolonged muscle fatigue, reduced immunity, decreased workout performance, increased injury frequency, tiredness, waking up feeling sleepy, craving high calorific foods, needing to snack often, slower recovery, and compulsive need to exercise. Now I'm just going to go into a little bit about like my personal, what am I trying to say, my experience of this, because I didn't actually notice these were signs of overtraining. So for example, prolonged muscle fatigue. For me, I found that my DOMS would last. DOMS is delayed onset muscle soreness, which is what you get after you work out and a couple of days after you're sore. My legs, especially within the week before I took my deload, the week before, I was aching like no tomorrow. My DOMS in my legs, my leg days, they were intense anyway, but I was literally there like, okay, well, I've trained harder, like I've increased my weight. These DOMS are lasting until my next leg session, to the point where it's actually affecting my next leg session because I can't lift that same kind of weight that I was lifting last week, if that makes sense. Waking up feeling sleepy, again, this was very, very apparent in my week before I took my deload. I would wake up every morning not wanting to train, which kind of is a bit of loss of motivation as well. Not wanting to train, and I was so tired despite having my full 8 hours sleep. I need a good 7 to 8 hours sleep to function the next day. Anything less than that, I'm not functioning. I was waking up and I was like, I want to train later. Usually train in the mornings. I'd wake up, I'd think, right, my head's not in this game. Shall I train later? Actually, no, because if I end up going on with my day, I'm going to want to just go home and go to sleep, and I won't get my workout done. So yeah, my waking up feeling sleepy was very, very apparent, and looking back, I see that even more now. Craving high calorific foods, again, my food actually upped anyway from being on a cut to being on a slight, bit more of a bulk. So my portion sizes increased. I was still craving sugary treats, like these jellies that I was having, these 10 cal Hartley jellies. I was still wanting a cookie, I was still wanting a donut, I was still wanting all these sugary, high calorific foods. And the compulsive need to exercise. I didn't actually think this was a thing, like in signs of overtraining and when to deload. It got to a point where it was becoming very obsessive, and I would probably eat something that I shouldn't be eating, or I would have slightly more of something that I shouldn't be eating. Like my portion size would increase slightly, and I would feel guilty for that. And it got very, very obsessive and unhealthy. But now, again, looking back, I'm glad that I've figured out this was a reason why. I would eat something and I would be like, right, well, I need to counteract that, and then get on a cardio machine and burn it off. It got to that stage, and when it gets to that stage, you need to kind of think, right, okay, because I was putting it down to the fact like my bikini prep changed, and maybe mentally I wasn't quite there, and I was just having that down moment where I was like not feeling good about myself, not feeling myself at all. Right, let's just up my cardio and do that. I was doing it like excessive. I was doing more cardio to the point where people that worked in the gym was like, do you just do cardio? Like, do you lift weights anymore? It got to that stage. Now I want to talk about the signs of CNS, or central nervous system fatigue. So this is slightly different to your general signs of overtraining. So this includes headaches, joint aches, low energy, poor sleep quality, lower motivation, flu-like feelings but without the blocked nose, fever, forgetfulness, and low concentration. So these last two, which is forgetfulness and low concentration, this was very apparent for me. Things at work, like I wouldn't be able to carry out a task if I didn't write it down. One, write it down there and then, or do it there and then. And I was like, what is going on? Is it just because I'm stressed? Well, you are. Like, I was stressed internally. My body was stressed. I was under that physical stress. Flu-like feelings is quite a good one, as quite an apparent one as well for me. And headaches. I've suffered, before my deload, I suffered with like the odd headache that I never really used to get. I used to suffer from migraines anyway, but then recently they've been coming back like once a week, and I was like, what is this? Also joint aches. I wouldn't necessarily say it was a joint ache. I don't know. I still get it now. It was when I was doing a rear delt cable fly, and my trap leading up to my neck really, like, I pulled something, and even now it twinges. Like, I could be sleeping funny or whatever and I'd still get a twinge. But that also, like, don't ignore prolonged muscle like soreness or joint ache. I don't know, it's not really a joint, but I still get it now. It kind of gives me a headache. But yeah, your injuries will become more frequent if you are training too hard, so you do need to be mindful that you might just need to deload in a week off. Poor sleep quality, again, like I said, I was waking up and I was like, right, well, I've slept, but I was waking up about 3-4 times in the night, which again I usually wouldn't do. I'm not a deep sleeper anyway, but I also would just notice that my sleep quality was a little suffered. There is a guideline of when to deload. So as I said in the beginning of this point, it's dependent on per person and some of the variables within that. A beginner trainer, so if you are new to lifting, it's recommended that you deload sort of every 8 to 10 weeks, just have a lighter session. An intermediate trainer, so like 1 to 3 years of lifting, is recommended to have a deload every 6 to 8 weeks. And then an advanced trainer, so more than 3 years of training, recommended to deload every 4 to 6 weeks. So that's a very basic guideline. If you don't feel the need to deload, then don't. There is no point in setting yourself a deload week if you go into that, if you're about to go into a session and you think, right, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling, you know, I feel like I can beat my PRs or get some PRs, but it's deload week, so I can't do that. Ignore that. Like, okay, you might have planned a deload week, but if you are feeling like you can still like bang that gym session and get your weights up, do it. You have to. There is a guideline, but you also have to listen like to what your body's telling you. So next point is how to deload and ways to deload. So deloading is, as I said in the beginning, it's reducing your intensity and or volume. So if you were to reduce your volume, you would be keeping the weight the same. So if you're lifting 80 kg, you'll be keeping it at 80 kg. You'll be reducing your sets and your reps. So if you're used to doing, say, 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps, you can reduce that to like 2 sets of 8 reps or something. I would say this is the most uncommon way of doing it, because the whole point, your physical stress is coming because of the load you're lifting. So leads on to my next point. Another way to deload, which is the most common one, is to reduce your intensity. So reducing your load. So if you're used to lifting 80 kg for 3 sets of 8 reps, you're then reducing your weight from 80 kg to about 50, 60 kg, but you're keeping the rep range the same, so you're still lifting for 3 sets or 8 to 10 reps. You can do both at the same time, so you can reduce your intensity and your volume. So again, if you're used to lifting 80 kg for 3 sets of 10 reps, you'd be reducing your weight to say 50, 60 kg, and you'd also be reducing your sets and your reps to say 2 sets or 8 reps. Just as an example, okay? Another way to deload is you can actually change your form of exercise completely. So if you're used to weightlifting, you could just swap that for doing like low intensity cardio. So for me, I had a rest week. I didn't lift weights at all, but I actually opted in or just continued doing low intensity cardio for my 3 days of cardio days. But I did opt in to do a harder form of cardio. So I did Stairmaster for half an hour instead of like a steady state walk on the treadmill for half an hour. So like it was still quite intense because I wasn't lifting weights. So I thought I can still keep my fitness levels up. So that's what I did. That's very simple like point. Very easy, quick, short, blast. We're just going to touch a little bit for the last point on nutrition during a deload. This depends on what your goal is anyway, prior to the deload and needing a deload. If your goal is building muscle and increasing strength, you should already be, oh my god, the actual light turned off because they think I'm not in here. Do I need to move? I love it. I love a blooper. So goal is building strength. I'm going to keep that in there. Goal is building strength, increasing muscle. So you should already be in a calorie surplus anyway. So this means that you're eating more than you're burning. So on a deload, you still want to make sure that that calorie surplus remains in place, but only by a small amount, because you're not training, you're not actually using that energy expenditure. You don't want to be eating still too much. Does that make sense? If your goal is losing fat and you still feel like you need a deload week, then you're already in a calorie deficit, which means that you're eating less than you're burning. The reason for this is because if you are in a calorie deficit but you're still reducing your intensity, then there is potential that you could lose muscle, and we want to obviously preserve as much lean muscle as we can whilst losing body fat. So that is the roundup of Deload 101. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I hope you guys got some information out of it. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will do my very best to answer your questions. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that here. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. See you later.